Okay, everyone, this is my spoiler review of X-Men the Animated Series Season 1, Episode 6, called Vengeance. This originally came out February 6, 1993. Before I jump into my review, please make sure not to spoil future episodes and stick to this episode or past episodes, and make sure to subscribe. I'm doing everything X-Men, whether it's reviews of figures, Legos, shows, you name it, so make sure to hit that subscribe button. So we jump right where we left off the last episode, and Cyclops is pissed that Wolverine left without telling anybody, but Jean Grey says to herself once Cyclops leaves the room that it's her fault for him leaving, and she feels some guilt here, which isn't really fully explored in this episode yet, which I wish we got a little more of Jean Grey's mindset on that, but I'm sure that will come. But I love Wolverine just skis to Canada and he's like, no place like home. It's just so funny seeing an older animation, just animation of Wolverine skiing. I love it. But of course, Sabretooth is there waiting for him, so this rivalry will not end. And Sabretooth breaks the ice bridge that Wolverine is skiing on. And he's like, revenge is a dish best served cold. He did a Mr. Freeze Arnold Schwarzenegger before Arnold did. Now, my favorite line in the episode actually comes to something Wolverine says, where Wolverine ends up in the ice cold water, and Sabretooth's like, not even your healing mutant powers can keep you alive on a chunk of ice in the middle of the Arctic. And Wolverine's like, at least I won't have to listen to your flapping mouth anymore. That's such a great line. Also because Sabretooth just kept going on and ranting. And it's just funny that that's how Wolverine would react to it. I love that. And also, during Sabretooth just yelling so far away at Wolverine, you just get all these butt shots of him and you're just like, someone get this guy a pair of pants. So the locals find Wolverine and their leader, Keowak, immediately is like, hey, let's give him to the government for money and we can get a new snowmobile. But the elder here, Poyeta, is like, no, we help strangers, and wants to bring him back to their camp. So Wolverine wants to give back for him saving his life by helping out. So he goes fishing with them and he does an amazing job. Then he's making the whole crew laugh. But Keowak is extremely jealous and threatened by this. And the best part is the woman who is standing with Keowak's like, the stranger has the strength of a polar bear. And he's like, he's not so strong. And he drops the fish buckets when he tries to pick them up. That was so funny. But the best moment of this episode actually comes when Wolverine's talking to Poyeta. And he's like, I feel strange, because he feels at peace. And Poyeta has this great line, no man seeks peace so hard as one who does not have it in his heart. So it's perfectly summing up Wolverine, and knowing that in his character this early on was like the perfect time to place that. So I really like that. It's just a good way to get insight of the character of Wolverine, this great iconic character. Now, Sabretooth runs into Keowak and is like, you have the stink of Wolverine all around you. But I also love, if you watch the show, there's so many funny animation things going on. But this was the funniest thing that stood out to me so far, was when he says that Sabretooth for some reason is doing like this gorilla dance with his arms. I thought that was so funny. But you see, he's feeding off of Keowak wanting of revenge as well towards Wolverine, kind of wants him to help him out. Basically wants Keowak to trap Wolverine and get him out of that camp so Sabretooth can attack the camp, which he does. And then when they come back, poor Wolverine's like, there's no peace for me, even here. And Keowak's like, oh shoot, sorry, I thought it was a trap just for you. Not this. I didn't realize he'd attack my camp, which I thought was really funny. But Wolverine stops himself from killing Keowak, and he's like, okay, this isn't really on you, even though it really is. But now Keowak follows Wolverine to help him save their people. So we see Sabretooth has tied all the people to an ice bridge, but it has dynamite on each side. I love that Sabretooth tells him, you have 1 minute, but if you actually time this whole fight sequence from when he says that, it's exactly 2 minutes when Wolverine and Keowak actually throw the dynamite away and it blows up. So that's just kind of silly. But Wolverine's like, I don't want to fight you anymore. I don't care who started. It's time to bury it. So he's just already over this. But I love when him and Sabretooth fight, that Sabretooth at one point just decides to throw a snowball at him. Hits him in his face and he's like, ah, my eyes. It's just snow. It's water. But he throws Wolverine over the cliff, and his claws keep him on, which is pretty cool. And Keowak then has his redeeming moment and stops Sabretooth before he throws a huge chunk of ice at Wolverine that would have killed him. But another great line is Sabretooth goes, stay out of my way, insect, to Keowak, and Wolverine just comes up and says, "Be nice to the guy, Sabretooth. He's our host." I thought that was so good. And then Wolverine dives out of the way, which was a nice touch to eventually defeat Sabretooth, where he flies off the cliff himself. Sure, that's not the last we'll see of him, of course. But Wolverine feels bad about all this and offers the Elder that he will help them rebuild their site. But Puig's like, we were due to leave anyway. And Wolverine takes from all this conversation with him that he called him friend, which is nice too. So, like, it's showing you Wolverine wants that as well, which I really liked, showing that human side of Wolverine. So, everything else going on in this episode, we get some time with the X-Men, and it really is about setting up the next episode with Genosha. And Gambit is the one who brings up this rumor that there's an island Genosha that's welcoming mutants. And Cyclops is mad about this. He says it's all rumors, but this is where Professor X is like, no, it's worth a look. And then Cyclops is like, oh, okay. And he's like, Genosha could be an example for the world. But Cyclops chooses Storm, Jubilee, and Gambit to investigate. And Jubilee's so excited because she's finally get to do something. And they have to go in as Taurus. And all she cares about is what she's going to wear at Jubilee. What a great Gambit moment is when they get to the hotel in Genosha. And at check-in, he finds a sign that says, "Ask about our mutant discount." And he's like, hey, maybe you'd save 10%. What do you think? And Storm's like, put it back, Gambit. But we see the hotel clerk scan Storm, sees her powers, and he has an evil smirk. So we're like, oh no, something's up. Calls someone on that evil red phone they always have. And he's like, new arrivals, I'll think you like them. So you're wondering who he's talking to. And they go to their cabin, and they're almost locked in. There's gas put in, and there's men and robots outside. So this is not what it seems. And Storm's like, no, Gambit, we cannot endanger human life, when he's about to throw his card at them. But he's like, maybe you can't. But again, this has been teased, so this has really earned that Gambit's always been tempted not fully follow the rules of the X-Men. And then he throws his card, and then Storm has to use her wind to get these people off of them. But then eventually a Sentinel shows up and grabs all three of them, and it's a big to be continued. It's a good cliffhanger. But overall, this is not my favorite episode so far I've watched. It felt a little tedious and feels dated compared to the other episodes the most. A lot of this stuff doesn't hold up, and I don't think it's that enjoyable. It's cool to see some Wolverine time, which I like, but Sabretooth to me so far isn't the best. He's just a yelling, shouting guy right now who almost gets too much screen time in his moments. And really, the side story with the X-Men is all to set up the next episode, which I'm not a huge fan of either. But it's still good. I still enjoy it. It's just not my favorite so far. I think it's a downgrade a bit in the quality the first couple episodes had. So I'm going to give this one a 7.7. But let me know what you thought of this episode. I'd love to hear your thoughts. I read every comment. I try to respond to as many as I can. And again, please subscribe. It's a new channel, so I'm trying to work it up. And you can also check out my regular YouTube channel, Steve Varley Show, if you enjoy what I do. And I'll see you next time.